years ago today, the Boston Celtics put that 14th World Championship banner in the rafters here at the Boston Garden with a victory of the Houston Rockets, coached by Del Harris, who's now on the Milwaukee Bucks staff. In this game, Dick Vitale, it comes down to the situation of the trade that Red Auerbach made last year. Dennis Johnson, he'll be guarding Sidney Moncrief.
That was a great acquisition for Boston because the one ingredient they needed, Roger, was a stabilizer defensively, especially at the big guard slot. And Dennis Johnson, one of the premier defensive guards in the league, has done a great job neutralizing Moncrief. In fact, Sidney averages over 20 points a game during the season, but against Boston, he averaged 16 points a game.
And shot just 42% from the field, where he usually shoots 50. Some folks say if Milwaukee's going to win a game here, it's going to be this one. They didn't win here during the regular season.
They certainly have an edge emotionally. You got to believe that Boston is absolutely drained after being taken. It was like a Mount Everest off their back after beating New York in 7 games. Number two, you got to look at the factor of Milwaukee's style of play. One, they control tempo. They play a ball-controlled basketball offensive game. Two, they do a great job defensively by packing it in, and they hold the opposition to 45% field goal percentage. And three, they have the physical bodies. Hey, Don Nelson is a winner, and believe me, this club can beat Boston. However, I like Boston.
Milwaukee well rested their last game Thursday night when they beat New Jersey to advance to the Eastern Conference Final. The Celtics going after their 200th career playoff victory before the 165th consecutive sellout crowd here at the Boston Garden. Let's go back to Greg Gumbel.
Winning just once. That was January the 15th by a score of 106-87. They won it by 19. The Celtics winning the last 4 in a row, won by the first one of the series by as many as 14 and by as little as 1. The final time they met on April the 10th in Milwaukee, the score was 96-95. John, during that regular season, Marcus Johnson was the one doing the bulk of the scoring for the Milwaukee Bucks, averaging more than 22 points a game. Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics at forward, Marcus Johnson and Larry Bird. We know the numbers that Bird has been putting up, but very quietly, Marcus Johnson has been having a fine playoff series.
And again, as you mentioned, Greg, against the Boston Celtics this year, Johnson has done very well. The bad thing for him, as was for Bernard King, Johnson will have to guard Larry Bird. It will not be that way on the other end.
At the other forward, Alton Lister gets the start for the Bucks against Cedric Maxwell. Lister averaging 6 points a game, Maxwell 9.5 points and 5 boards.
But Maxwell very good this year, more than his season average scoring-wise against Milwaukee. Lister will take Bird down low. That's part. Bird will be guarding Lister. That's part of their philosophy.
At center, as we said earlier, Bob Lanier having his healthiest year in many a year, going against Robert Parrish. Lanier 13.9 points a game, Parrish 15.8 and 11 rebounds.
Milwaukee is going to be ready for Parrish to run a lot. Boston's going to try and run Lanier into the ground. This is an important game for Lanier because 48 hours from now they meet again, and this has to be a good one.
At the guard, Sidney Moncrief for Milwaukee, averaging almost 20 points a game. DJ averaging better than 15.5 points a game in the playoffs.
The reason Boston got Johnson was for Andrew Toney purposes and Sidney Moncrief. There's no more Toney to worry about, so this is a big, big matchup, and one of the main things that Johnson has to do to prove his worth to Boston is stop and contain Moncrief.
At the point guard, a real find for the Bucks late in the season, and Mike Dunleavy for Boston. Gerald Henderson, who is scoring more than 11 points a game.
And also, well, Dunleavy, of course, is long-range bombing. That's his forte. But look for Paul Pressey to come in, and he will give Henderson a lot of trouble in the backcourt because of his size.
The bench players, the big one for Milwaukee is Junior Bridgman, who scores 14 a game. Kevin McHale scoring 16 points a game and grabbing more than 7.5 rebounds. But the thing about Milwaukee's bench, John, there are an awful lot of bodies to come off of there and throw at the Celtics.
There are 5 of them, 6'10" or better, and that's a lot of bulk, as the Nets found out. McHale has not killed Milwaukee because of that. McHale can't come in and bang people around as easy as he can against other teams, so this will be a very interesting challenge for him. Buckner, look for him. He's been playing very well lately, and Ainge got some confidence against the Knicks, too.
The head coaches for tonight's game for Milwaukee, Don Nelson, the ex-Celtic, and for the Boston Celtics, it is K.C. Jones. Let's talk about the key players for tonight's game.
Thank you very much, Greg, and welcome, everybody. One thing that Dick Vitale and I are not looking forward to are a lot of fouls, and we had that in the Milwaukee-New Jersey series. As a matter of fact, the Bucks commit 197 fouls against the Nets. That's an NBA playoff record for 6 games. They did that for a good reason, though, Dick.
Roger, that was their game plan. It was part of their strategy because New Jersey was the worst free throw shooting team in the NBA. However, when you look at the Celtics, I can't believe that can be part of Don Nelson's plan, because the Celtics, as we look at Nelly sitting on the sideline, The Celtics have shot 79.8% for the year statistically, and we look at Casey Jones, and when you look at Nelson and you look at Casey Jones, they certainly are two guys that are steeped in Boston tradition.
Oh, they are. And also the Milwaukee organization, Wayne Embry, a former Celtic and one-time general manager, now a consultant with the Milwaukee Bucks. Lister and Parrish, Earl Strom, Paul Mahalik, the officials, and the tap will be controlled. Marcus Johnson, Dunleavy, Moncrief, Lanier, and Alton Lister for the Milwaukee Bucks. Henderson, DJ, Maxwell, Robert Parrish, and Larry Bird. Bird matching up on Alton Lister. Traveling call.
Traveling violation, but they didn't waste any time trying to go to Lister, trying to get him into the flow of the game offensively, especially with Bird playing him. Remember, Larry gives away 2 or 3 inches against Lister, and I look for them to attack Bird immediately. Don Nelson told us before the game there were several different ways you could play Bird, and one was to go right at him, and apparently that is what they're going to do. The scoop won't go, and Moncrief comes up with it. Sidney averaging 4 points less per game against the Celtics and not shooting the ball nearly as well as Lanier misses, and Dennis Johnson comes down with it. DJ with the bad shoulder. Dunleavy across the timeline. Moncrief wide open from 20. Nobody can get it down. Henderson back to Johnson, knocked out by Lister. Will be Celtics basketball. It's a feeling out process right now, Roger. The tempo of the game, Boston certainly likes the pace of the play as they're going up and down the floor. Milwaukee wants to play at that half-court game. Henderson misses. About a goose egg so far, no score, just underway. Boston Garden, first game of the Eastern Conference Final between the Milwaukee Bucks. Dunleavy, three-point land. He had hit 5 of 6 against the Celtics coming into this game. Lanier, he misses. Maxwell, and it counts. And Lanier complaining that he took a shot below the belt. Excellent transition basketball, typical Boston Celtics style. Watch the judgment in transition as we look at the ball is kicked to Maxwell. Good play by Henderson. We don't see the play. Lanier's, I guess he wanted to charge on that play. Bob is bending over, catching his breath right now is what he's doing as Maxwell goes to the line. Max averages on the season about 14 points a game against the Milwaukee Bucks. He's done a good job against Milwaukee, scoring a lot of points, more than his seasonal average, as the Celtics giving some full court pressure right now. They want to apply pressure full court, Roger, to try and speed up the tempo of the game. Anytime you put full court pressure, it makes a team play at a faster pace. Moncrief posting up on Dennis Johnson. Dunleavy, the heavily taped left thigh. 3 on the shot clock. Lanier will get the shot off, and Milwaukee has yet to hit. Milwaukee, they have missed their first 5 shots. They got a good shot right there. Look at Lanier out in transition. He says, hey, I'm like magic. Look at me move. 6'11", about 265, and he takes it coast to coast. Loose ball on the floor. Moncrief comes up with it. Bird's going to make sure he doesn't get out. Boy, this has been sloppy so far. 3-2, Celtics lead it with 9:49 left to go. First period, Don Nelson calls out a play. Celtics have won 12 straight here at the Boston Garden. They want to post Marcus down inside on Maxwell. Maxwell really plays good denial defense on a post. 3 on the shot clock. And in as the 24-second clock expires. Tremendous hang time by Marcus Johnson. Gets the good angle on the drive, hangs, lays it, and kisses it off the glass. Lister guarding Maxwell. Offensive foul called on Cedric Maxwell. Earl Strom right on the call. Dick, you know, foul shooting was a real key in the regular series where Boston won 5 of 6. The Celtics had 7 fewer field goals. They only shot 46% from the floor, Milwaukee 49. Celtics took 43 more free throws. They made 36 more as Milwaukee takes a 20-second timeout. Boston, with their great front court, they're going to go to their interior people, and whenever you go to your interior people and you play a good inside attacking game, Roger, you're going to create foul opportunities, and that's what happened in the series where Boston won 5 out of 6 games against Milwaukee.
There you see Don Nelson, 4th playoff, and of course, he's been to this Eastern Conference Championship Series before.
There's all kinds of rumors that Nelly may step aside after this year, and I was teasing him before the game, and he said, Dick, the pressures today are unbelievable, and he may go to the front office as a general manager, and I'm going to lay a scoop on you.
Okay.
If he goes to the front office as a general manager, do you want the next coach of the Milwaukee Bucks?
If anybody knows, you do, Dick.
It's not going to be Dick Vitale, and I'd love to coach Johnson and Moncrief. I couldn't screw those two guys up, but I'm going to tell you this. I think it's going to be one of his scouts, Del Harris, the former coach of Houston. Nelly has great respect for Harris's knowledge.
Parrish with the steal off Lanier. Lanier chasing from behind. He'll just give up on it. Let Parrish get the easy 2. There's a couple of big 7-footers moving down the floor. I hope we don't see the type of play we saw in the New York-Boston series on the breakaways, guys being tackled from behind.
We said that's a no-no. I thought they should possibly reevaluate that rule. If a guy's tackled and he's in the open court, give him the basket and possession of the basketball.
Foul's going to be on Dennis Johnson, reaching in from behind. First foul on DJ.
DJ has the bad shoulder, Roger, but they're not counting on him for any kind of offensive productivity. They want him on the floor to neutralize the great scoring talents of Moncrief.
And an offensive foul whistled by Paul Mahalik. Foul was on Dunleavy, away from the basketball. Milwaukee, 2 of 7 so far from the floor. Celtics, 2 of 5.
Both clubs really haven't executed their half-court game or their transition game with any kind of efficiency.
Maxwell on top. That gets the big 6'11" Lister away from the hoop. Henderson open on the side. He hits it. And the foul.
Excellent offensive play in that series. Tremendous pass by Dennis Johnson to set the open jump shot up for Henderson. Larry Bird trying to get free. He moves well without the basketball. Look at him try to run his man off a screen. Forces a mismatch. Comes off a double screen. But now watch Henderson pop out. Bird was almost responsible for that shot being open because of his presence and his movement and motion on the floor.
Henderson completes the 3-point play. Foul was on Alton Lister. 8-4 Boston with the lead. 8:13 to go in opening period. Marcus Johnson with the basketball guarded by Maxwell. The pick set by Lister frees Marcus up. He misses it, and Parrish the rebound. Knocked out of bounds, and it'll be Boston basketball. Parrish really set the tempo, Dick, for Boston during the regular season, getting over 11 rebounds a game. As on the offensive boards, that's where the Celtics really did the job on Milwaukee.
They dominated them on the offensive glass. I believe they out-rebounded by 28 offensive rebounds.
Whistle outside, called by Earl Strom. And not only are you seeing the best basketball players in the world, you're seeing the best officials in these games, too. Foul was on Marcus Johnson outside. That's his first.
It's very important for both of these clubs to try and establish some kind of center play from Lanier and Parrish early in a game.
Bird, the fall-away shot, in and out, and Lister the rebound. They really isolated Bird on that side, tried to free him up. Marcus Johnson does a very good job on Larry Bird, denying him the basketball. Lister. Loose ball foul underneath, and it's going to be on Robert Parrish over the back of Sidney Moncrief.
Roger, once again, they go down into the interior, down inside to Lister, and Lister shoots the jump shot. They're attacking Larry Bird. There's Lister shooting the jumper, and now we'll see the climb into the back. There's Parrish. One thing happens when you change your style of play. Sometimes it takes away from your rhythm offensively by going to a guy like Lister, who's not their normal option.
Moncrief with a left hand misses. He collides with Marcus Johnson. Lanier from 16 feet, in and out. And the foul's going to be on Moncrief as he gave Dennis Johnson the shove from behind. First foul on Sidney. All 5 starters for the Milwaukee Bucks with 1 foul.
It's very obvious that Don Nelson's game plan is to establish Lister and Lanier early in the game. Bob has shot the ball quite a bit, and that's not his normal pattern. In fact, during the year, he only averaged 9 shots a game. Junior Bridgman will check in at the next opportunity as Parrish gets a handle on it, puts up a tough shot, misses it. Dunleavy will come up with the rebound. The reason it was a tough shot, they doubled down on him, and they made a tough angle for him to get up the square and shoot the jumper. Dunleavy, he's got the lane, takes it, and hits. Mike Dunleavy, a tremendous late-season acquisition by the Milwaukee Bucks. Delay of game call against Milwaukee. It was a great acquisition, going down in the stock market and getting him. I'll tell you one thing, he's not a Dow Joneser. He's not an up-and-downer. He's a consistent player. Timeout on the floor, 6:48 left to go. Opening period, Celtics lead the Bucks. Sluggish start, 8-6.
Roger Twibell, Dick Vitale back with you. You can see what Larry Bird has done during the regular season, the playoffs. He's picked up his point production, his assist production, rebounds down a little bit, and his percentage of the offense, Dick, has increased dramatically in the playoffs.
Roger, we're going to show his percentage involved in his chart. Wherever you see a Bird, that indicates Larry Bird has taken a shot. We can see he has missed 2 shots, 2 opportunities. 43 indicates that Henderson was open for a shot and missed the shot on a pass from Bird. What we're going to try to establish is to show his percentile that he's involved in the offense, totaling his points and his assists. And if he totals over 40 percentile of the offense, you can almost be guaranteed that Red Auerbach will light up a cigar and there'll be another win in the Boston Garden.
Bird against the Milwaukee Bucks in the regular season, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. But what he did against the New York Knicks, over 30 points, over 10 rebounds, and over 7 assists. And we got to see 2 outstanding players in Larry Bird and Bernard King square off in that 7-game set.
Roger, we saw the 2 premier forwards in basketball. When you talk about Bernard King and Larry Bird, I've said time and time again, they were my choices in the corners as the all-pro selections, but I don't think there's any doubt who's the MVP of basketball. I've said it from day one, and I'm not changing. Consistency, it has to go to Larry Bird, who excels in every phase of the game. Shoot it, pass it, rebound it, and play defense.
Junior Bridgman in the game right now, and he'll be guarding Larry Bird as Bob Lanier has sat down. And Bridgman, he averages over 17 points a game against the Boston Celtics. Bird in the lane, and he hits it. Now, there's a mismatch. He's got 4 inches on Junior Bridgman.
Bird recognized the size differential immediately and takes the ball right into the paint in the 3-second area for a good shot. He has a tendency, you really have to question his shot selection, Larry, at times.
Traveling violation on Moncrief. He had turned the ball over. He was looking for Dunleavy. They called the travel. 5 turnovers now on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Nelson told me he's going to play 4 guys on Larry Bird. He's going to rotate some people with size like Catchings. He's going to play people like Bridgman who are smaller just to give him a different look so he never can establish a rhythm.
Bird, the turnaround. Look at that shot over Junior Bridgman. Larry Bird, his second hoop.
He's immediately going to have to get Junior Bridgman off him. That's one dimension that they're going to take out of their arsenal because he'll just shoot it over him all day.
Bridgman, who hits 54% of his shots against the Celtics. The steal by Henderson as they tried to swing it. Moncrief reached in to stop it. Cross court to Dennis Johnson. Wide open from 18. Oh, Lister cleared house on Maxwell. No call. And Marcus Johnson behind the back will bring it across the timeline. The finger roll. That could have been basket interference by Lister. No call. And they'll bring it the other way with Gerald Henderson. Maxwell's got Dunleavy on him. He turns into Lister and puts it up and in.
Cedric Maxwell certainly has made a career of posting down on the interior with the long arms. The great first step to the goal. He just doesn't, I guess there are not enough of shots to get him the kind of offense you'd like to get Cedric with Bird and McHale and Parrish on the floor.
Maxwell with 5 points. Milwaukee has missed 7 of their last 8 shots. Bridgman steps back over Bird. In and out. Lister, the offensive rebound. Whoa! Lister just about took Gerald Henderson's head off. And the foul's going to be called on Gerald Henderson. And Henderson standing there. This guy's 6'11", Dick. What's going on?
Dennis Johnson trying to beat Moncrief to the. Look at him denying him down inside. Watch number 3. Look at the elbow right in Moncrief's throat. I mean, he is locked on him on the boxes.
Whistle underneath. Foul called by Earl Strom.
Roger, we were watching Dennis Johnson fronting before, playing in front of Sidney Moncrief. Whenever we use the terminology, he's fronting him. He's playing between him and the basketball, but he's playing in front of him defensively.
Milwaukee with 4 offensive rebounds, but no conversions so far. Celtics with no offensive boards as they go inside to Marcus, and he slipped away from Larry Bird.
Marcus did a great job of sealing off the defensive player, gets good inside position, demonstrates his great strength on the interior. He's a multi-dimensional kind of player. Marcus Johnson can play on the defensive end and the offensive end.
Bird backing in on Bridgman. There's the bounce pass inside. Maxwell finally comes up with it, stripped away by Dunleavy. And the foul's going to be on number 10, Mike Dunleavy. That will be his second. And the Milwaukee Bucks' 4th team foul. There's a good look at Don Nelson.
Bird right now has got a mismatch, but he recognizes the open Maxwell inside, tries to drill the bounce pass. Lister comes over and lays some body on Maxwell, and there's Dunleavy reaching in on his hand.
Cedric Maxwell so far in the playoffs, 9.5 points, 5 rebounds. And from the foul line, Max shooting 69%. And game 7, big on the boards with 7 rebounds.
He also did a great job Sunday of bodying up on Bernard King.
Yeah,
Certainly did a tremendous job early in the game. Remember, in all fairness to Marcus Johnson and Bernard King, they have to play on the offensive end and do their job, as well as on a defensive end guard the talents of a Larry Bird. And Larry doesn't have that. He has the luxury of playing on the off.
They were looking the alley-oop that time to Sidney Moncrief, and the foul is going to be on Dennis Johnson, his second. And Quinn Buckner and Kevin McHale will check into the game right now for the Boston Celtics. Maxwell will sit down.
Watch the give and go. Moncrief gives the ball up. He catches Johnson staring. Doesn't have any vision of the ball. They try to throw the lob over the top. Dennis Johnson made a no-no. Never had vision of the basketball. Defensively, Roger, you want your player to see the ball and his man at all times. They're not playing the guy that has the ball.
Sidney Moncrief has been to the foul line over 100 times in the playoffs. Shooting 78%.
He's a slasher. He's the kind of guy that's going to take the ball down inside. You saw him with the 16 points in his last performance against the Nets. His value on the club is not just scoring. Remember, he was the league's most outstanding defensive player for 1983-84.
And Kevin McHale, the man with the ball, the sixth man for the 1983-84 season. Bird. McHale, the offensive board, misses. Parrish loses it. Buckner gets it back. Scrambling, Quinn Buckner comes away with it.
Buckner's a gutty player, a winner. He's got all the intangibles to give you some solid defense from the backcourt slot.
Lister matched up on Parrish right now. The Chief from outside, tipped by DJ. That was still on the rim, and Paul Mahalik outside says count it. Basket credited to Dennis Johnson.
Excellent call by Paul Mahalik. The trail official had the good look, the good angle on it. Dennis Johnson waves that hand. I mean, he wanted that deuce because he knows he's not a great perimeter shooter, and any basket he can get, he wants.
Dennis Johnson has been struggling from the field, shooting just 40% so far in the playoffs.
Yet he can play for most people because of his presence defensively on the floor.
Buckner guarding Dunleavy. The left-hand scoop blocked by Parrish. And that's one thing the Boston Celtics do so well, and one thing they did against the Knicks, they blocked a lot of shots.
Rejection city when you try to take it in a paint against the front line of Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. Parrish says, Dunleavy, you're not taking this in here. This is not the stock market, Dunleavy. This is the NBA. Get it out of the paint.
Bob Lanier is checked back in the game for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Marcus Johnson will sit down. So Bridgman still matched up on Bird with Lister on McHale. Buckner working off the pick by Bird. Hits! Quinn Buckner.
He has a nice little jump shot when he shoots it stationary. Very rare would you see him putting it to the floor like that, coming off the screen and shooting the jumper.
But he's playing against his former teammates. Quinn Buckner, a member of the Milwaukee Bucks for 5 years, before coming over to Boston in the trade for Dave Cowens.
He was a very vital part of the Milwaukee Bucks at that point guard slot during their big number days.
Lister. And the foul is going to be on Kevin McHale. And you see McHale agreed with referee Earls. I think that's the first time I've ever seen Kevin McHale agree with an official.
Kevin McHale, certainly one of your happy-go-lucky. I mean, he is full of quotes. I thought Vitale was verbose. This guy eats me alive.
He's been listening to you, Dick. I can tell that. Bucks take a timeout. 2:22 to go in the first. Boston 29. Roger Twibell, Dick Vitale, and that's the last time Boston won the World Championship in 1981 when they defeated the Houston Rockets, and of course they are looking for number 15 to hang from the rafters here at the Boston Garden. Larry Bird has played in the playoffs every year that he has been in the National Basketball Association. You can see what he did in years past. Over 20 points, less than 6 assists, over 12 rebounds. This year, Dick, he's really picked up his point production. His rebounds have fallen off while he's shooting 56% from the floor. In past years, 45% coming into the season.
Also, as we look at the turnover ratio, 7 for Milwaukee, 3 for Boston, he has another dimension on the floor with this team. They do not have the true legitimate point guard, creator, and passer on the floor.
Like a Tiny Archibald they had in years past.
Right, exactly. A good analysis. They don't have Tiny out there to run the break and do things offensively from the point guard slot, so they utilize Bird as a passer on the floor, and he plays out in the open court a little more than he did in the past.
Paul Pressey has checked into the game now for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a valuable man in the backcourt for head coach Don Nelson, very aggressive defensive player. And Alton Lister at the foul line.
Pressey has the long arms. Defensively, he gives you a solid performance. he also knows his limitations. He's a solid player, and I think he's just going to become a real, true NBA performer in the future years. He's just learning the trade his second year in the league.
Dick, Milwaukee shooting just 23%, 4 of 17 from the floor, and they've turned it over 7 times. Bird breaks free underneath. He gets a pass from DJ, misses it. And Larry, a grimace on his face. He said, gosh darn, as he ran by.
Except he got open again with outstanding movement without the basketball. That's really a lost art by a lot of players.
Moncrief, strong move inside, follows his own miss. One more time, McHale comes down with it. Trying to get it out to Bird. Cressy intercepted it, but Bird got it back. Buckner pushes it up to Dennis Johnson. He'll take it from 18. Misses. And McHale got locked in that time by Lister. He wasn't able to chase the ball down as Cressy will bring it up court. Bridgman. Foul's going to be on Quinn Buckner, and that is his first. Checking in now for the Milwaukee Bucks will be Paul McKeskey, and Cedric Maxwell will come back in for the Boston Celtics.
McKeskey, one of the most improved big men in terms of a backup player. He has really improved and has become a quality player who's given him quality minutes on the floor.
McKeskey, a 7-footer, and as Dick likes to say, you can't teach 7 feet. He was originally drafted by Del Harris down at Houston, a 3rd-round pick from the University of Kansas. He was the first 7-footer to play at Kansas since Wilt Chamberlain. He's kind of proud of that distinction.
Nelly was telling me earlier tonight that the reason he went after McKeskey was through the comments of Del Harris, also getting Dunleavy. Dunleavy was recommended strongly as we look at Bridgman's stats in Game 6 versus the Nets. He also recommended Dunleavy, who he had on that Houston team that played against Bill Fitch's championship Celtic club in '81.
Of course, Fitch now coaching the Houston Rockets, who are in line to get either Hakeem Olajuwon or Michael Jordan. Whistle, foul's going to be on Bob Lanier. Dick, let me ask you a question about Lanier. Against the Celtics, shoots 60% from the floor against Boston, but only gets 5 rebounds a game.
He doesn't shoot enough. You mentioned his statistics, 60%. He's not getting as many shots as I think he should shoot on the floor. There's Bob reaching in as soon as you stick that hand. He said, wait a minute, I'm a 14-year veteran, Earl Strom. You can't call that on me. I just stuck my hand out.
Perry shooting just 66% from the free throw line in the playoffs. He's got 3 points.
You mentioned rebounding out of Bob in terms of the statistics. He is not a great rebounder. I mean, he is not statistically, especially now in the latter part of his career, what you would call a guy that's going to go laterally for rebounds. He gives you a lot of muscle on the court, a lot of size. I think he's got to shoot the ball 14, 15 times a game.
Cressy sends it out top to Lanier. Bridgman takes it to the hole. The left-handed in by Junior Bridgman. Bridgman has 4 points.
He has really improved his art of driving the basketball. We know he's a good stationary jump shooter.
Danny Ainge has checked into the game for the Celtics. McHale working the baseline. He gets trapped underneath. And it's going to be Boston basketball. Ainge has played fairly well against Milwaukee. Even though it's limited duty, he has shot 60% from the floor. Last year in one of the playoff games, he scored 23 points in the first half, and then Don Nelson made a few choice comments about Danny.
He felt the wrath of Don Nelson. Nelson's a great motivator like that. He picks a player to go after. Great motivational, psych, part of coaching. He went after Michael Ray Richardson in the New Jersey series just to try and take a guy out of his rhythm.
He said Ainge was a cheap shot artist last year.
He learned that from the master, Red Auerbach, how to utilize the press as a way of getting his players to play.
22-15, Celtics with the lead, 3 on the shot clock. Bridgman, the line drive. McKeskey tips it out. Cressy gets it. And in with 25 seconds left to go in the period.
Pressey with a good drive for the goal. He has the long arms. Paul Pressey's not a good long-range shooter, not a great ball handler, but he's the kind of player, a complimentary player who does so many good things, Roger, that you need him on your club if you're going to win.
10 seconds left to go in the opening 12 minutes of play for the Boston Garden. First game of the Eastern Conference Championship Series. Ainge dropping it off to Parrish. Pressey, though, picked it up. And no basket.
Excellent defense by Milwaukee in their half-court defensive set, but Danny Ainge made a no-no by leaving his feet offensively and then trying to make the pass.
Low scoring first period from the Boston Garden. Celtics lead at 22-17 after 1.
Important and vital to Don Nelson. Number one, his club has been rested. There's Greg Kite from Brigham Young, who made my all-airport team. He said, Dick, I'm going to start getting some PT playing time, and you're going to have to take me off that all-airport team.
You're talking about Nelson. Get back to basketball.
Nelly, Roger, you made me lose my thought right there when I saw Greg Kite.
I'm only talking about an important game for Don Nelson this first game.
Very important because emotionally, Boston, as we talked about, had to be flying high after getting Mount Everest off their back in terms of losing to, there's Nelly now talking and preaching and look at the field goal percentage. And number two, they're a rested basketball team, and therefore they're primed for this game, and this should be a little edge for them, with Boston having the edge naturally playing here in Boston.
Both teams with 8 defensive boards, but the Milwaukee Bucks 7 offensive rebounds as they've out-rebounded Boston 15-11. McHale inside for the easy 2.
Tremendous isolation. That play was set up by Casey Jones during the timeout. They isolate Kevin McHale inside, and he demonstrates his flexibility by taking it right to the goal.
Lanier, McKeskey, Moncrief, Bridgman, and Pressey. Small lineup. The runner by McKeskey, and Bird comes down with it. Bird, McHale, Maxwell, Buckner, and Ainge. Danny Ainge comes up with a loose ball. Will take the jumper from the side, and Bridgman the rebound.
Celtics have a quick lineup on the floor with McKeskey and Lanier. They do not have the kind of speed, Milwaukee, to get into a transition game with Boston.
McHale guarding Lanier. He's going to take Kevin inside. Double team by Buckner. Back into Big Dauber. Won't go, and McHale gets the rebound. Good job defensively by Kevin McHale. Ainge will push it up to Bird on the wing. Inside to Maxwell. And the foul is going to be on Junior Bridgman.
Perfect execution in their running game. They run the ball up the middle of the court, get it to the sideline to where Larry Bird has the good angle to try and dump it to Maxwell, who's locking down in a box. They run it up to Larry Bird. Now he has that good 45-degree angle for the bounce pass into Maxwell, locking down inside, and Bridgman comes over and fouls him.
The foul is going to be on Paul McKeskey. Cedric Maxwell can show you more moves. He can get the ball up to the basket from any position. He can sit in the stands and get it up as long as there's a foul on the play.
That's why he's been called the rubber man since he came out of North Carolina, Charlotte, where he carried the 49ers to the NCAA Final Four when they lost to Al McGuire and Marquette in 1977 in Atlanta.
And of course, that was the year that the Titans of Detroit went into Milwaukee and knocked off Marquette, wasn't it?
We beat them, no, we beat them in 78, the year they won the national championship. No, it might have been 77, 78. I lost track, Roger. That's too many years ago. Let me just say this. I cherish the moment of beating one of my idols, Al McGuire.
Whistle in the backcourt. Foul's going to be on Quinn Buckner. That is his second. Casey Jones telling Dick and I before the game, glad to be out of that New York series.
He was glad to get New York out of the way because he knew that he was in an absolute war.
Cross court, Maxwell intercepts the pass. Ainge, and in.
Good decision by Cedric Maxwell. He knows he's not a guard. He pulls up with the basketball, looks for a guard, kicks it off to Danny Ainge. They're trapping all over the court to try and create tempo. They're putting a lot of pressure on the ball. Ainge is playing very intense, and he looks like that ankle injury is a thing of the past.
He was fined $750 today for that altercation with the Knicks. Pressey inside, strong move with 2 on the shot clock. Paul Pressey.
Good athletic ability. I liked him when I saw him play for Nolan Richardson in Tulsa in the NIT. You could just see that he was an athlete that can do a lot of things for your basketball team. 27-19, Celtics with the 8-point lead. Biggest lead has been 11. Now Pressey matched up on Bird with the double team with Bridgman, and they're going to get the illegal defense call. The one difference in Larry Bird and a lot of great superstars, there's a technical. Strom bangs him immediately. One thing about Earl Strom, he will have control of the basketball game. I think the greatest compliment was Red Auerbach after the game in New York. He said, hey, you can say what you want about officiating, but when Earl Strom is blowing the whistle, he is in command. Technical on Don Nelson. Larry Bird will shoot it. I was talking about the double team and Larry Bird, Roger. Most superstars, to try and get the ball out of their hands, you'll double team them, forcing them to get the ball and give it up. In the case of Larry Bird, when you double team him, he has such great ability to see over the top of the trap and to find the open man that he makes you pay for that double team. We have got the third different player guarding Bird now. Pressey is in there. Look at Bird break off the pick. Maxwell the offensive rebound. Maxwell tiptoes the baseline, the hook,
And Lanier has it knocked loose, and the foul is going to be on Quinn Buckner. And on Buckner, that is his third.
Bob is very active on the floor here tonight, and he's had a great year. He's missed only 10 games. He's played 29 productive minutes. Watch Bob inside. I mean, is he holding a little bit? I mean, he's hooking him, beating him to a spot defensively.
I can tell you one thing, McHale's going to have a headache by the time this game's over.
Jeff Rulin said he's the doctor of the hole, is what he called Bob Lanier.
Marcus Johnson checks into the game, and Moncrief is going to get a rest. You know, Marcus said that Bird's one of the great players of all time, and he says, when I'm matched up with him, I know he's going to have, if not a great game, he's going to have a good game. So there's really nothing you can do.
I don't think that's too way off Wall saying he's one of the great players of all time. Thank you, Marcus.
And Pressey hits from outside.
That really shocks me. Pressey shooting the 17-footer.
Long pass to McHale. He gets it back to Henderson, who's thinking about it. Now he moves to three-point land. Back into McHale, who loses it off his foot. Just over 9 minutes to go. First half, Pressey. And traveling called on Marcus Johnson.
That's an example where you have the numbers your way, 3-on-2, and you come up empty-handed because you don't have that true point guard who can create like an Isaiah Thomas or a Maurice Cheeks and finish off the play on the other end of the floor.
Milwaukee's turned it over 9 times so far. McKeskey on Maxwell. Tried to flash Henderson on the baseline. He moves outside now to leave Bird in there. But what a pass to Ainge, the left-handed in.
Tremendous recognition by Larry Bird. The ball goes to the wing. He spots Danny Ainge cutting to the goal because Ainge's man wants to double up on Larry Bird. He said, double team, forget it. I'll make you pay.
Ainge shoots 60% against Milwaukee. The foul underneath as McKeskey went up. It's going to be on Larry Bird. I asked Ainge before the game why he seems to, play a little bit better against Milwaukee. I don't really know. He says, maybe I get a few more minutes against them. And of course, that's what every player says, that the more, as Dick Vitale would say, PT.
Paul McKeskey told us that today. I was talking to Paul, you and I said, you're having a pretty good finish. The first thing he said, I'm having a good finish toward the end of the year, Dick, because I'm getting PT. They love those 2 letters, PT, the players.
He's also a free agent.
He made us know that, too. He said, I'm a free agent.
McKeskey hits the 2 free throws, and it's 30-23, 7-point Celtic lead. Looking inside to Maxwell. Marcus guarding Bird.
Celtics are a great passing team. That's another one of their great parts of their game.
Blocked by Marcus Johnson. It's going to be off Bird, and Marcus showed you some very good defensive work that time. He didn't go for any of the fakes that Larry Bird laid on him.
He had excellent timing, and he had excellent use of his legs, his tremendous strength of his body, and he gets up to block the shot. Marcus trying to deny with the free hand. Now Larry catches the basketball, has him on his hip. Marcus hand checking. Now he beats him to the spot. Excellent timing. He's just a great player, Marcus Johnson, also.
Miss inside, and Maxwell comes away with the rebound. Bird in the middle, touch pass to Henderson, back to Maxwell, and in.
Is that unselfish basketball? That's a clinic in how to run the break. Finding the open man, moving the basketball, putting the defense under pressure. Started by Larry Bird in the middle of the court.
Cedric Maxwell now with 10 points, and he is the leading scorer for the Boston Celtics. And you notice the ball never touched the floor in that fast break.
Bird again with great inside position.
Bad pass by Ainge, but he got lucky because it was touched by Milwaukee.
Bird demonstrates another great quality that you do not have to be a great jumper and a tremendous leaper to be an outstanding rebounder. Just get good, solid inside position on the defensive player, and you're an offensive player, and you're in great shape to rebound.
Parrish, Dennis Johnson check back in the game, and Mahalik with the whistle. Foul's going to be on Henderson.
Nelson was a street fighter as a player. He was a physical kind of player on the interior when he wore the Boston Celtic uniform. And his team reflects his personality. There's no doubt in my mind that they reflect Nelson's personality.
No call as McKeskey got nailed. Dunleavy outside. He misses. He's just checked back in. Parrish releases to DJ. 3-on-1 to Henderson and in.
Timeout.
And it counts, and he's fouled.
They also need a timeout to break this rhythm. The Celtics have that running game going, Roger. They're releasing people, and they're putting tremendous pressure on the Milwaukee defense.
Foul on Dunleavy, his third.
Notice how they're coming at you in all kinds of waves. He had a choice. He could have given it to Bird or Henderson. He finds Henderson for the layup.
Timeout on the floor. Garden crowd. Standing ovation for the Celtics as they've moved out to an 11-point lead with 6:54 to go in the half. What this graphic shows is during the regular season, the Celtics, with 7 fewer field goals, they shot just 46% compared to 49 for Milwaukee. But the Celtics with 36 more free throws, and the Bucks, who were the best defensive team, giving up the rest of the NBA just 101 points a game, gave up 108 to the Celtics.
The reason for the differential in terms of free throw shooting, as we talked about earlier, Boston likes to go down into their inside people, into McHale, into Parrish, Maxwell, and also Bird, and they present a lot of problems, and they're going to go to the foul line and create free throw shooting opportunities.
K.C. Jones, Jimmy Rogers, and of course Chris Ford, the coaching staff for the Boston Celtics, and Mike Schuler, Gary St. Jean, the assistants for Don Nelson, and Del Harris, his scout here. K.C. Jones has been to the playoffs every year he's been a head coach in the NBA, and he's got a 20-20 playoff record.
Last year when this club was swept by Milwaukee 4-0, remember this basketball team was not playing good basketball at the end of the year. They were having a few problems. Players were moaning and groaning. They're a happy basketball team, and I attribute that a lot to K.C. Jones on that sideline. But not to take what Bill Fitch has done, because he did a great job when he was there with Boston. But sometimes, Roger, there comes a time a change is needed. 6 points, 4 assists for Gerald Henderson. Lanier down low as the Boston front court has outscored the Milwaukee front court 21-8 as Parrish knocks it loose. It'll be Milwaukee basketball with 7 on the shot clock. And once again, Milwaukee just 2 of 8, Dick. Is it the Celtics' good defense, or is Milwaukee just missing open shots? Milwaukee has missed some good open shots, but also Boston's doing a great job packing it in, taking driving angles away. And look at the help, and that's creating a lot of problems. They're giving a lot of help to one another defensively. That time, Henderson got a piece of it. They thought it hit a Milwaukee player, but it's going to be Bucks basketball. Larry Bird is probably the best defensive player in the NBA on the front court when he's playing off the basketball in help position. He anticipates, he reads well. Now, if he has to play head-to-head on the ball, he's not as effective. Lanier has just not been getting a shot down. He has been shooting from way outside. He's getting good shots, though. Those are normally they're going to go in for Bob, and he's getting good shots, and he's into the game offensively. He's just not getting the ball to fall, but that will happen. He's just 1 of 6 from the floor. And the Bucks now 2 of 9 in this period as Bird leans in. Marcus might have got a piece of that. Bird chases it down, and they get a new 24. Parrish is in that lane. He was parked in there for a long time, and Earl Strom saw it. Bird does a great job of placing the ball above his head and always has vision on the interior. Just always has the ability, has that great peripheral vision seeing the entire court. Maxwell commits the foul in the backcourt. That's the 3rd foul on Cedric. With 6:03 to go in the half. 14th foul of the Boston Celtics. Cedric said no more predictions. I'm not going to talk about that Mr. King is not going to get 40. Didn't he say that Marcus is a better player than Bernard in many ways? He was complimenting Marcus Johnson. He's smart. He's a politician. He's learned how to be a nice politician. Cross court to McKeskey from 15. He hits it. Paul McKeskey can hit that outside shot. The scouting report says when he's outside, you've got to respect him. You've got to go out after him. He has a nice touch for a big guy. Parrish guarded by McKeskey. He misses, and Dunleavy comes up with it, and Henderson reaches in, and the foul on Gerald Henderson is 3rd. Now we've got a situation where Henderson has 3 fouls, Buckner has 3 fouls, and Maxwell has 3 fouls with 5:31 to go in the half, and the Celtics are over the limit. Dunleavy's certainly a guy that bangs the floor a number of times. You take a look in the Milwaukee locker room after a game and watch Dunleavy putting the ice packs on his legs, and he has that bruised left thigh. He was just one of a number of Milwaukee players banged up that really needed that time off. So Milwaukee with 5 days off. Another player, Harvey Catchings, who is available for duty. He'll be seeing action. And also, Kevin Greavy says his shoulder is much better, and he could see some playing time. As the Milwaukee Bucks now have cut the Celtic lead at one time at 11. It is now down to 8 as they've hit 9 of 10 free throws. Tipped away by Bridgman. It'll still be Boston basketball, and Kevin McHale will check back into the game. Very stationary on offense, and Casey trying to talk to them a little bit about getting a little bit more movement on the floor. You mentioned a rest. Bob Lanier is certainly the kind of player that needs a few days to get his knees back in shape, and the rest certainly had to help Bob Lanier, even though it doesn't show with his shooting percentage, but he's very, very fluid on the floor. Sometimes when you're 35 and you're going good, though, maybe you just want to stay right with it, but you'll take the time off. The Bucks had it. We're going to take a timeout now with 5:13 to go in the half. With you
Celtics with a 35-27 lead. And Dick, how has Larry Bird been involved in the Boston offense so far?
So far, he's really only been involved for 20% of their offense. As we indicate here, the circled Bs show you the 2 shots he hit. He hit a jumper from the wing and hit one at the top of the circle. The other Bs are shots that he missed on the floor. He's 2 for 9. 44 is Danny Ainge, and that was a pass he received from Larry Bird. He's had 1 assist, and he's had 2 buckets, and he's had several free throws. He's only been responsible for 7 points on the floor out of their 35, so it hasn't been a true Larry Bird performance.
He has just 5 points. Henderson put up a 3-pointer, drew nothing but air. And so far, Milwaukee shooting just 27% in the game, 9 of 33. And the Celtics 42% as they go inside to Moncrief, and he hits it.
That's Sidney Moncrief at his best, Roger. That's the one great dimension he possesses, his ability to score around the basket from the guard slot. He becomes like a forward and a front court player with his great inside play.
That was his first field goal with 4:38 left to go, first half. Henderson goes over to Bird. McKeskey switches off. Larry takes it in, and the whistle. Earl Strom makes the call. Foul's going to be on McKeskey, and that is his second. As ML Carr will check into the game as we take a look at Red Auerbach.
That's a legend, an institution, and
Arnold, as his friends call him.
You just hate to think that it might be coming to the end for Red Auerbach, who's going to step down basically, and Jan Vogt going to take over from what we hear, because Red has been such an institution and a legend here in Boston.
Blocked inside. McHale puts up the follow and in. Kevin McHale with 4 points, and the Celtics 37. The Bucks 29, as Milwaukee's had 43 possessions, just 10 field goals, 9 turnovers, Dick.
If you were to chart their half-court execution, Don Nelson certainly wouldn't be happy. There's Larry Bird running over to give help.
Lister standing way out front. They're trying to get him in illegal defense as Marcus Johnson hits his first 2 of the period. Long pass to Parrish.
Celtics do that as well as anyone. Get the ball right after a score and throw the baseball pass down the court.
McHale misses, and Bird was still down at the other end of the court that time as the Celtics rushed into their offense. Moncrief posting up on DJ.
Bird certainly given a lot of help on the inside. He's playing McKeskey.
Marcus Johnson. McHale gave him too much room that time, and Marcus has 8 points. And the Milwaukee Bucks have pulled to within 4. That's as close as they've been in this period. Boy, a low-scoring game. Neither team has played particularly well. And a whistle down on the baseline. Foul's going to be on Marcus Johnson as he was trying to keep up with Larry Bird. That's his second.
Larry's so physically tough to play. Watch him work the baseline. Look at him move. Now he bumps Marcus. Now he's going to run him into a screen. Marcus sees the first screen, runs into Robert Parrish, and then he's called for the foul. In the meantime, he has a bruise on his chest.
Bucks are over the limit, so Bird, who is the leading free throw shooter in the NBA, will go to the line, and he has just kept that going as he is shooting better than 90% in the playoffs, Dick. And that's not a bad career for some guys, huh?
He had a great game against the Knicks on Sunday as he missed.
Well, he threw up a brick. That's as bad a free throw as you'll ever see Larry Bird saw.
Roger, I believe he was really charged up because of the Bernard King.
And Mahalik, the whistle.
And Larry's sitting there enjoying it. He's saying, "What did you call on me, Paul? Somebody come and give me a little helping hand."
The foul is called on McKeskey. It looked like Lister who pushed Bird, but they give it to McKeskey. That is his third.
I was mentioning a point before about Larry Bird and his performance against the Knicks and Bernard King. You can't tell me that Larry Bird wasn't excited about playing against Bernard King. You have to get charged up when you're playing against a guy that's getting all kinds of headlines. There's Randy Brewer running on the floor from out of Minnesota. A 7-footer, was a teammate of Kevin McHale at Minnesota. But Larry had to be charged up because there's been so much written about Bernard King's great spectacular play. And the one thing about Larry, he's not a spectacular player. He's just a solid, consistent player, but he's not going to be flashy and do all the things in transition as some of the great players in this league will do.
Dick, his flashy moves will usually come on his passing ability, not so much what he can do in the open court, taking the ball inside. But every once in a while, he'll surprise you with some of the things he can do. But you're right, he is not as spectacular on a day-in, day-out basis as a Bernard King.
Or Dr. J.
Yeah. Illegal defense called against the Celtics. So each team has had an illegal defense called against them. Next time, it'll be a technical. Just over 3 minutes to go in the half, and the Celtics lead it by 7.
Nelson set that up. He was screaming about it earlier, and he had Lister trying to isolate, playing way out in the back court, forcing Bird. Now Bird's playing Randy Brewer. Got
Brewer.
strength against
String
size.
beans. Strength against height. I think that'd be the best way. Lister takes the shot outside, misses it. Bird tips it, and McHale comes away with it. Bounce pass to ML Carr. Good fake by ML. The scoop. Oh, ML Carr.
Showtime. ML Carr, one of the veterans of this basketball team.
That's a flash from the past right there.
He's such a spirited guy. Watching him in the warm-ups, he's a cheerleader, and he's such an emotional lift to this team.
Moncrief is fouled as he takes it up. It's going to be on Dennis Johnson. And on DJ, that's his third. So now Buckner, Henderson, and Dennis Johnson all with 3 fouls. But let's look at a former Piston.
Guilford College. I taught him that move, Roger, on the baseline. A little power layup. I taught him how to hang when I had him there with Detroit. Making me look good, ML. He didn't make me look too good when I was on the sideline.
That's for sure.
Somebody else.
That's for sure. Moncrief, who has now just 4 points, and you can see what he's doing in the playoffs. And 55%, that is good, but it's not unexpected of Sidney Moncrief in playoff action.
He came out of that class in 1979, one of the great classes in the NBA. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Cartwright, Greenwood, Moncrief, just a great class.
Dennis Johnson has done an outstanding defensive job so far on Moncrief. He is 1 of 4 from the floor. He now has 5 points, 3 of those from the free throw line. DJ isolated on Moncrief. The turnaround won't go. Parrish, and the whistle from behind. Foul's going to be on Randy Brewer.
Celtics are starting to establish inside position on the offensive board. We had the rebound by McHale a little bit earlier. There's Dennis Johnson in an isolation, one-on-one move, turns, shoots the little J. Parrish, good inside position. There's only one thing he can do. Oh, it looks like he gets all ball, but the official says no body.
Danny Ainge just checked into the game. Parrish to the line. Chiefs got 4 rebounds and make it 5 points. Before the game, Sidney told me the matchup between, there you see the hot pad going on the shoulder of Dennis Johnson. He said the matchup between him and Dennis Johnson sometimes is a washout. They make each other work so hard. And in this game, DJ with just 2, Moncrief with just 5, and Johnson averaging over 15 points and Moncrief nearly 20 in the playoffs.
I disagree with Sidney from this standpoint. His points are much more vital to Milwaukee than the points of Johnson to Boston.
A couple of former Golden Gophers going at each other as Randy Brewer took it inside on Kevin McHale. They were teammates for 1 year at Minnesota.
Kevin McHale was a senior when Randy was a freshman. I mean, he fouls him 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and he bangs him and he goes to the line for 2. They played in the starting lineup together during the NIT from Minnesota. Trent Tucker was on that team as well.
Brewer in the playoffs averaging just over 2 points a game as Paul Pressey checks back in. Milwaukee 12 of 13 from the foul line in this game.
Pressey reminds me a lot of Darrell Walker, the New York Knickerbocker player, Roger. I know a lot of people talk about Walker from Arkansas in the same class as Sidney Moncrief.
Moncrief gets it and puts it in, so it turns out to be a 3-point play.
And there's no way you can put him in a class of Moncrief, but he's very similar to Pressey. Long arms, defensively tough, anticipates well, steals the basketball, and certainly a shooter who's a suspect.
Oh, Brewer just nailed Bird in the line. Hey, Don Nelson's got a lot of fouls to waste on his bench. He hasn't gone to Harvey Ketchich yet. Brewer picks up his second.
Marcus Johnson fighting Bird. Bird coming off a screen. Brewer just gives him a little shove and then turns and looks at the official. Said, "Who, me?"
Nelly loosens up the tie. He might take the coat off before it's over with.
He does a great job on the sideline. I'm hoping he doesn't quit as a coach because I think guys like Nelson and Billy Cunningham certainly are 2 examples of former players who have come into this league and have proven that they can go right to that sideline and with some time become outstanding coaches in this league.
Bird all free throws in the second period, and he's hit 6 of 7. 46-38, 1:44 left to go. Bird also with 4 rebounds, 3 assists so far as Marcus Johnson takes him inside, and that was a strong move by Marcus.
That's a major league move. He had him in a 1-on-1 situation on a baseline. Great change of direction and good body time, and he also utilized the basket really well as another weapon as he went up and under with the reverse layup.
Marcus 5 of 6 from the floor. Parrish wide open. McHale got it to him, and he puts it in.
Parrish gets down that low, Roger. You just put it in the book. You're not going to stop a 7-footer with his touch 3 feet from the goal.
Celtics by 8. They've led by as many as 11. 1:10 left to go. And McKeskey will check in. Bird went for the steal that time. Marcus takes it inside. nearly an identical move as Ainge comes away with it. Bird on the wing. Larry leans off the glass and in. Tough shot by Larry Bird.
That's an all-NBA pro play right there, Roger. He was trying to find a trailer in transition from the wing. He doesn't spot a trailer. He gives an up and under move, gets it up on the glass for the layup.
Marcus Johnson. Parrish the rebound. ML Carr is down floor. McHale to Bird. The pull-up from 15 hits. So all of a sudden, the Bucks had closed it to 6, and quicker than you can say Larry Bird, the Celtics have it up to 12 with 20 left to go in the half.
Typical Celtic basketball, utilizing the fast break, putting a spurt on the floor.
Well, we'll take a look at that shot chart when we come back after halftime. We'll see some interesting things on it, as Bird has made 5 of the last 6 Boston points. Moncrief, and he is fouled. Fouls on ML Carr. That's his first as McKeskey checks back in.
That was a set call by Don Nelson, trying to get Moncrief down the lane for a one-on-one maneuver. ML Carr on the floor to give him some tough physical minutes, run the court and play some solid defense and put some pressure on Moncrief.
52-40. Moncrief will go to the line. Sidney Moncrief with just 2 field goals in this game, both coming in this period.
I was teasing Lorenzo Romar. How does it feel to be a 6-second player? They're usually for 6 seconds. Heck, he said it feels a lot better being a 6-second player in the NBA than in the CBA.
There you go with those initials again. I think you like this. Lorenzo hasn't even gotten into the game yet. You should have saved that for when he got in at the end of the game.
No, he just checked in. I know. It's just
6-second man. Bird long to Ainge. 1 second. It counts.
Larry Bird waves to the crowd. What a tremendous pass to find Danny Ainge, who sticks the open jumper, but the pass made that play.
Ainge finishes up the half with 6. Bird with 14. We're at halftime at the Boston Garden. The Celtics lead the Milwaukee Bucks 54-42. Thank you very much, Greg, and welcome back to the Boston Garden. We're at halftime, a game the Celtics have led from the start. 54-42, our halftime score. The Celtic front court outscoring Milwaukee's 36-19. And, of course, you talk about the Celtic front court, you speak of number 33.
Well, you look at his performance in the first half, Larry Bird, we've charted it, and all the B's that are not circled are missed shots by Larry. Larry was 4 for 11 as a shooter, and he was responsible for 3 assists. An assist to Danny Ainge down to Gut, 1 to Maxwell, and the pass, that clutch one to Danny Ainge for the shot. He was responsible, Roger, looking at the chart. He had all good shots for 20 points of the 54, which comes to 37th percentile of the Celtic offense. And if they can be up 12 and have Larry Bird shoot 4 for 11, they're really in great shape.
Also, Bob Lanier just 1 of 7, and you said that some of the shots Bob had were pretty good shots. He just wasn't getting them down.
I didn't think it was anything to do with shot selection. I thought I heard Greg mention shot selection. Naturally, I'm a little prejudiced to Bob Lanier, but I thought they were good shots which just didn't go down. He just was unable to stick that 15-foot jump shot, which he normally puts down because he has a great shooting touch.
So these are a couple of good defensive teams. John Andrews mentioned out Celtics second behind the Bucks in defense. And so far, they have done a super job as Lister knocks it away, and they were looking for a goaltending call. Dunleavy dropping it off. Maxwell steals it. Parrish gets it back, and then Dunleavy commits the foul on the turnover. That is his 4th foul.
That was an excellent block on the defensive end by Alton Lister, who's one of the better shot blockers at the power forward slot. The one problem for Milwaukee, they have not been able to get anything easy in transition. They are not a running basketball team, Roger, but you have to get some easy baskets during the flow of a game to win on the NBA level.
Maxwell gives it to Parrish. Knocked loose. Out of bounds. I think Parrish was looking for the foul. No call, and then he had to hold Lanier off.
Bob does a great job of popping the ball loose. We saw him do that against Buck Williams in a crucial play during the New Jersey series and converted on the other end after the steal.
Ball was knocked loose as Henderson got caught in the air. Dunleavy to the other end. The left-hand scoop, he misses, and Parrish. Now there's a good shot. He just didn't get it down once again. Henderson in the middle to Dennis Johnson on the side. He misses it, and Lanier gives Bird the hip, and the foul's going to be on Bob Lanier. That is his third.
We witnessed 2 opportunities by Milwaukee in transition. 2 times Dunleavy has come up and down the court and have come up empty. Now we look at Boston come back the other way, and then we get the foul. Right there's the bump on Larry Bird. You can't go down the other end 3-on-2, 4-on-3 and come up empty.
No one scored yet. Just underway. Second half action for the Boston Garden. Henderson. And the foul's going to be on Moncrief. That was a tough foul right there. Henderson with not much of a shot. And on Sidney Moncrief, that'll be his second foul.
The one great part of Milwaukee's defense created by Don Nelson, as we look at Casey Jones, a great defensive player during his era, they do a tremendous job of packing inside and giving you the perimeter jump shot. They witnessed, if you watch them against New Jersey, that was their effectiveness. They really caught New Jersey's guards not shooting the ball really well, and Michael Ray Richardson and Otis Birdsong and Darwin Cook. And they do a great job of packing it in and forcing you to try to beat them from the perimeter.
They're really putting a lot of pressure on Dunleavy. That leg's still bothering him a bit. And Henderson, extremely quick, has caused Dunleavy some problems bringing the ball up the floor.
Mike's fundamentally solid. He doesn't have the great foot quickness to beat you with the drive to the goal.
Lister with that downhill shot, and Alton Lister with his second field goal. He has 4 points.
Whenever he's involved in their offense and gives them some points inside, they seem almost unbeatable. He had a big game against New Jersey in the 5th game, and
it counts. That's why they call him the rubber band man.
Acrobatic time. You would look at him smiling. He's a junk food eater too. You wouldn't believe what he was eating before a game.
I saw
cookies
it.
And
I can attest to it. He had a foot-long roast beef grinder with relish and 2 chocolate milks. And that's what I saw him eat. Who knows what else he was throwing in.
Violates every rule. What coaches talk about as Pressey comes back on the floor. You talk about training, meals 4 hours prior to game time. You talk about carbohydrates and all. And Cedric Maxwell says, forget all of that nonsense. I'm going out to play some basketball. And he doesn't put any weight on.
13 points for Cedric Maxwell, so Bird with 14, Maxwell with 13 to lead the way, and the Celtics have moved it out to a 59-44 lead with 10:08 to go in the third.
They've been very disruptive to Milwaukee's half-court game with their 75-foot defense, where they pressured Dunleavy and they try to get them out of their rhythm and flow of their half-court game.
Dunleavy, 4 on the shot clock. He hits. Mike Dunleavy, he has 6.
Good ball reversal. They swung it to the weak side. Dunleavy's free for the jump shot. Milwaukee's normally one of the better half-court teams in the league in running their half-court offense.
Marcus Johnson, Bird goes underneath and in. Larry Bird now is 16.
Just a defensive boo-boo. You can't allow an offensive player to get inside position on a baseline. Marcus Johnson doesn't beat him to the baseline, and he's got the open layup.
Pressey takes it inside, and Paul Pressey has come off the bench to score 8 points.
Excellent drive by Pressey. Takes the ball to the goal with a lot of authority.
61-48. Celtics with the lead as Dennis Johnson drives the lane. Got caught in the air. Dunleavy sends it ahead to Marcus Johnson. It's a 3-on-1. Pressey in. Paul Pressey with 10 points.
Pressey gets the easy layup, but that play was developed and created by Marcus Johnson.
Bird to Robert Parrish.
And the Celtics do that as well as anyone, Roger. You score it down on the other end, and it's boom, bam, put the deuce in the book, and it's a deuce on the other end of the floor.
There was a little scuffle underneath as Lanier, Maxwell, Dennis Johnson had a few words. And Lanier John with official Earl Strom. Dunleavy wants Pressey to the other side. They want to isolate Lanier down low.
Look at Larry Bird giving help in the lane. Watch 33. There he is in the lane.
Traveling call by Lanier has just had a tough night, and you got to give Robert Parrish some credit for that.
Robert Parrish for good defense, but also Gerald Henderson taking away Bob's driving angle for the left-handed hook shot coming across the lane.
63-50.
Good team defense by the Celtics. I agree with John Andres about the team defense the Celtics are playing.
Birds flashing the baseline. Dennis Johnson takes it in, blocked by Pressey, and Lanier comes up with it. Dunleavy will take the middle if he can, drops it off to Moncrief, and the whistle by Earl Strom, and the foul is going to be on Gerald Henderson. and that'll be his fourth.
Lack of communication by Milwaukee in transition. Bob was in great position, Lanier as a trailer, but he doesn't communicate to Dunleavy, who's ahead of him, that he's trailing behind. He would have had an easy layup.
Whistle down low. Foul's going to be on Robert Parrish, his second. Dick, you know, in the final 3 games against New Jersey, Milwaukee really picked up their rebounding. They had been beat on the boards, but especially in the last 2 games, very convincing fashion. Was that more or less due to New Jersey shooting in the 30 percentile area, or the fact that really Milwaukee was working harder on the boards?
Milwaukee, I think, got a message from New Jersey early, but again, in all fairness to New Jersey, they claimed they were physically and emotionally drained after that Philadelphia series.
Beautiful play by Sidney Moncrief.
He runs a little shuffle cut off the high post. Great movement without the basketball. Catches the ball. There's nothing like a player. The toughest guy to defend, Roger, is a guy that moves without the ball and runs people into screens. Lister did a good job in that series, neutralizing Buck Williams late in the series.
Bird is fouled on his way inside, and that's his second time he has been able to fake Marcus Johnson to the right, spin to his left to the baseline, and take it in.
Marcus is playing him to the help area, trying to force him to the middle, and there he is now. He locks, he drops steps, gets on the inside, and draws the contact. Marcus is expecting help from the help side, and they're not giving him any help at all as Danny Ainge comes on the floor.
Dennis Johnson will get a rest.
When a guy is beating you to the baseline in a half-court sequence, Roger, you've got to expect help from the other end of the floor and really, really beat a guy to a spot and force him to go to the foul line as opposed to giving him the open layup.
Quinn Buckner has checked into the game. Now, Milwaukee has come out and hit 5 of their first 6 shots here in the 3rd period.
Little better execution out of their half-court game.
Bird now at 18 points.
Notice now how Boston will try and pick up the pace by playing full court pressure. Buckner does a good job on the basketball. He's not super quick, but he's a very intense defensive performer.
Moncrief, Marcus Johnson, Lanier, final 3 games against the Nets. They scored almost 60 points, over 24 rebounds a game, and Pressey is fouled by Robert Parrish. Those 3 veterans really picked it up. Marcus Johnson did not have a good overall series, but
watch Bob Lanier right now. I mean, is he hooking inside now? Is he holding? He's locking. He's getting his big rear end right into Parrish. And there's Paul Pressey hanging around the basket. That's the great advantage of that 6'5" big guard, 6'6" big guard to give you another rebound. But he has a lot of problems on the free throw line.
Paul Pressey, during the playoffs for the Milwaukee Bucks, shooting just 65%. That's a little bit better than he did during the regular season.
He shot 60% during the season on the free throw line.
He gets 1 out of 2, but he's come off the bench 11 points, Dick.
He's done a real solid job. Many of these NBA guys got to really work on their free throw shooting. If Birdsong and Buck Williams would stick the free throw, stay on